Hey everyone, this is Lomi, and today I'm working on Rikka, my modified Feeple65 Rin faceplate. This one was a little tough to figure out at first, and I spent a little time doing lashes and brows before I found something I was liking. This doll's going to be my first redhead, so I want the line colors to be relatively mild. At first I tried a more red-toned paint, but I felt it wasn't quite bold enough to show after I layer on pastels, so I went back to my usual brown. The first round was okay, but I felt like it was a little too precise for the natural sort of look I prefer for my dolls. The brows were a lot harder to nail down, but the beauty of the gouache paint is that I can redo it as many times as I want. So, funny story on this one is that I did the line work for the face up the day up before I got a prescription for glasses for full-time wear. I'd been having a lot of eye strains, so I knew it was probably time to get them, but I kind of wish I'd waited because after I had the glasses, I could see so much better, and I felt like there were a lot of things I could have done in her brows in particular, a lot better if I'd been able to see as clearly as I can now. It's always something though, and the sealant was already on by the time I got a look at it with my new glasses, so there was no going back. I think I can live with it. It's just a little imperfect. Some stray hairs that I don't really like that are probably realistic but wouldn't have been included if I were doing them over. It just means I'll have to practice some more now that things look different, because I am giving some of my dolls and their face-ups a hard side eye after seeing the difference this makes. The first thing I got to work on with my new glasses was the blushing. This faceplate has really round cheeks that, together with her full lower lip, give her kind of a long and droopy face. So one thing I wanted to do with the face up was apply a really strong blush across her cheekbones to pull some of the visual weight upward and help balance her face a little better. This will also help with her very pronounced nose, which is long in the way that a lot of Cerberus project sculpts were back in the early days of resin BJDs. It's cute but very strong, so it needs a little work to make her fit well with the rest of my collection, which lean a little more toward realistic than this girl does. That may be one of the reasons this faceplate was never very popular. But as I'm working on her, I'm excited for where she'll go, and I think she'll end up being a really cute addition to my collection. I'm definitely glad I followed my instincts and decided to give this faceplate a chance, especially since it means having another one of the mageling crew in my collection, which will be really fun for photos once I get all my doll props set up. I keep most of the blushing tones for her ears, nose, and eyes in warm peaches and terracotta. I start her brows with the same terracotta color, but I'll darken them up later on. the second layer of pastels, I add some red or brown to her brows, and I'll keep building that up along with the blush on her cheeks and lips. I typically use watercolor pencil or pastels for the waterline of the lower lid, but this time I decided to use some pale pink gouache. Not for any particular reason other than that I saw it and wanted to use it. It's definitely quick and easy and covers well, so that might be a permanent replacement for the pencils. At first I wasn't too sure what colors to use for eyeshadow, but when I added the purple to the inner corner of her eye, it inspired me to try that with her reddish brows. I mixed it with some warmer tones toward the outside corner of the eye, and I really like how that looks in the end. It's a nice cool note in the middle of a very warm face-up, which helps emphasize her eyes too. As I build the blushing, I also add some peach tones to the cheeks, going across her forehead and the bridge of her nose. This joins nicely with the pink on her cheeks. I also spent a little time using some of that softer peach color to do a little contouring around her jaw and her temples, which helps balance her face even more. I switched to a brighter pink for the last layer of blushing on the lips, making the upper lip and the center of the lower lip a lot bolder and letting it kind of fade out on the lower lip to downplay its fullness. Once I'm happy with the blushing, I seal the doll well and then it's back to paint to add freckles. This was actually my very first time doing freckles on a doll. I used a very watery reddish brown gouache and a fan brush, wetting the bristles just a little and then flicking my finger across the bristles to spatter the doll's face with paint. Using the fan brush let me control the placement a little better, because it pretty much just sent the paint in sort of straight lines, so I was able to go across the cheeks and nose, and then at an angle up the bridge of the nose to get some on the forehead. Anywhere I don't want freckles is easy to clean up with a piece of damp magic eraser, because it comes off with just one swipe. So I clean up a bit around her eyes and wipe off her ears, and also remove any paint spots that are too large or too long. I saved this for after the blushing because I knew the subtle color of the freckles would disappear under the pastels if I did it too early on. I use a white watercolor pencil to add a tiny bit of highlight to her cupid's bow, just because I feel her upper lip isn't well defined. That tiny change helped a bit, so then I add lip lines with white gouache. It went on a little heavier than I wanted in some places, but it's easy enough to soften with a wet paintbrush. With all the lilac pastel I put on her eyes, her eyeliner was looking a little washed out, so I touched up the edge with a black watercolor pencil. To add a little shimmer, I used some lavender pearl powder on her eyelids and add white micro pearl powder to her lips and the inner corners of her eyes. She gets gloss on her lips after sealing. Then to finish it all off, I use a pen to put some glue on her upper eyelids and insert some eyelashes. In the end, I feel like she looks really cute and very sweet, and I can't believe I've never seen anyone else do anything with this sculpt. I guess she's just kind of a diamond in the rough. And that's all for today though. Thanks for watching. Bye.